good defensive teams. The Marlins have committed the least amount of errors in the National League, and the Reds, I believe, are third best in terms of fielding percentage.
Let's go ahead and break this down and make it real simple for people at home to understand. Listen, both these teams have powerful guys in their lineups. They can score runs. Pitching has been the #1 issue, and breaking that down a step farther, you see the overall ERAs for both these teams. For the Marlins, it's hits along with walks. Creates big innings, and we've seen that here in the second half. For the Reds, it's just the opposite. Well, it's not just the opposite. It's homers and walks. They do the very similar, and that's why their records are so similar. Offensive against the pitching, the Marlins do a good job of keeping the ball in the yard. They don't give up too many home runs, but they give up tons of hits.
And talking to both managers, Don Mattingly and Brian Price, they both mentioned how similar these two teams are and how similar their plights are right now, trying to get quality starts out of their rotation. And for Cincinnati, they'd like to get some healthy starts out of Homer Bailey.
Yeah, 6'4", 223 pounds, 31 years old. The AutoNation scouting report, long road to recovery, multiple shoulder and elbow injuries, including Tommy John. Have derailed a promising career. He signed a $100 million deal a few seasons ago. Get this, it's only his 14th start since 2014. All right, the inconsistencies that comes with missing all that time. Said 2 great starts, and get this, against Arizona and Colorado, in Arizona and Colorado, but the other 3 starts, well, they have not been so good. He has been rocked. He has not even gone 4 innings, and he is a reverse splits guy. Righties are hitting .457 against him. That secondary pitch, that slider, it has been a nightmare. It's been hit hard.
D. Gordon in the box, ball game underway. Chris Siegel calls strike 1. Mike Everett, Jordan Baker, Bruce Dreckman, the umpires as well. And there are the numbers for Homer Bailey. 5 starts, 3 surgeries since 2014. And a letter high strike. Gordon didn't like it. Steps out of the box. Steps back and collects himself. And he'll climb back in.
Homer Bailey, you're going to see the fastball, slider, split finger, acts as his changeup. It's probably his best pitch so far this season.
Gordon hits a little bloop, and that's going to nestle into left field for a hit. Not only do we have 2 teams that can hit home runs, we got 2 leadoff guys who can really, really run. You got Gordon and Billy Hamilton. Now, here it comes Stanton. And, of course, the run that he's on, 11 games, 9 homers. But of particular note here, since this is the first inning, he has homered in the first inning in 3 consecutive games. Stanton climbs in at 30 homers, tops in the National League, tied with Aaron Judge of the Yankees for the Major League lead. In a high and tight fastball, Stanton looks out, shakes his head okay, and it counts 1-0.
Homer Bailey reacts right to his hand. Looks like it slipped. It is a very humid night here in Cincinnati.
And you can see Stanton acknowledge that. No issues with that. Gordon's at first. And Bailey throws a fastball for a strike.
Base stealers against Homer Bailey, 4 for 4 on the season.
Now remember, Justin Bour had that run near the end of 2015 where he went 3 straight first inning homers. Brady Anderson in '96, Major League record. Stand a line drive, that'll stay in the park, but it's into the corner, and D. Gordon is off to the races. Duvall digs it out of the corner. Gordon stops at third. Stanton's got a double, and Miami is in business here in the first in Cincinnati.
I hardly got the breakdown of the slider out. As part of the AutoNation scouting report, this has been the pitch that has caused him a lot of nightmares, hanging up out over the plate. Giancarlo Stanton on it, rips it into the left field corner.
I'll be honest with you, I think this is a great sign for Stanton in this series. I've seen many series where the Marlins come into this ballpark thinking they're going to pop 10 or a dozen homers over a 3 or 4 game run, and they walk out of here with 3 or 4.
Well, Rich, I mentioned it. You know, their hitting approach on the road over the last, well, really all season, but over the last 8 games, they've registered double digits in hits. Now, home runs have been part of that, but the approach has been so good. Really hoping that the Marlins would get back into that mode. We didn't see it in the homestand.
Yelich's number is very good in this spot. 75% of the runners at third he's chased home. Infield is back except for third, and Suarez. Field's in great shape. Infield's pretty thick. It's a little bit of a makeup for the tight dimensions, and especially on a warm night like this, the way the ball carries. Yelich sitting on a 2-0 pitch. Bailey from the stretch. And it's 2-1. Yelich at 359 on base, the slugging at 411. He homered on Wednesday. You see Bailey's first inning runs, and the important numbers on the far right. 5 starts. And he comes back from bone spur surgery in the spring. Yelich a bouncer up the middle. It'll score Gordon. Jeanette just in time to get Yelich. But Miami's on the board. Gordon scores, and importantly, Stanton follows to third base.
Productive out. Split finger fastball, big part of Homer Bailey's arsenal, throwing it a lot more. Take a look at the Reds defensively for tonight's ball game. Duvall will be in left field. Billy Hamilton, the speedster, in center. Schebler, Suarez, Cozart is back in there. Had the day off yesterday. Jeanette, Votto, Barnhart behind the plate, along with Homer Bailey on the mound.
Well, you don't see this much in this ballpark, and that is infield in the first inning. Marcell Ozuna takes a breaking ball for a strike. You got Stan at third, and Ozuna's looking at an infield that is in and tight, all on the grass.
Well, certainly not against Marcell Ozuna. I think what the Reds and Brian Price is hoping for is that split finger fastball will work its way down in the zone, and that he'll get the ground ball that Christian Yelich provided, giving the Cincinnati Reds an opportunity to cut off a run at home.
Well, Bailey's out in front now, 0-2. Sometimes a manager will wait till 2 strikes before he brings an infield in.
Part of it will be the numbers that maybe Ozuna has against Bailey. Of course, this is over a long period of time. He's 1 for 9 with a home run. So again, those are numbers that favor Bailey.
See what he gets here. Stanton at third, infield still in. And a fastball, and Marcell just gets a piece at 95 miles an hour. Now look, we could talk about all the surgeries with Bailey and the fact that he's only made 5 starts, but you look at his resume. A couple of no-hitters, strikeouts, most strikeouts in a Reds postseason game. He has wicked stuff when he's on and healthy.
Well, and that's what they invested in a few seasons ago. Just haven't seen it in a while.
Ball in the dirt, kicks away. Here comes Stanton, and he will score. And Ozuna gets to first because first base was unoccupied. So it's a strikeout. Bailey made a great pitch, but Tucker Barnhart couldn't stop it, and Miami gets a run and a base runner.
Some frustration for the Cincinnati Reds, who have allowed a lot of runs on this homestand. Swing and a miss. Barnhart lets it get away to the right. And his flip right there. No shot at Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton pretty deep over at third base, but got a good read on this ball being away. That's the split finger fastball. See it almost act like a knuckleball. Barnhart unable to slide out, went to the backhand, hits off the back of his glove.
Justin Bour now. And Bour takes down low. Bour climbs in. 21 home runs. You see the slugging percentage at .552, 365 on base. And Bailey misses out. 2-0. Homer Bailey now 31. LaGrange, Texas. Big Texan. 6'4", 223. Bour cracks it left field on a line, and it gets to the wall. Ozuna racing for third. Big JB rumbling around first, and the throw's actually going to third. So Bohr's got himself a stand-up double. Ozuna a little ginger as he arrives at third base. Kind of made a motion into the dugout like he's okay. That's another great sign that the approach that the Marlin hitters have had here in his first inning been terrific.
Well, it's ahead in the count as well. You see the two-seam action on the fastball. Watch how it runs away from Justin Bohr. But here's the thing. If he pulls the ball to the right side, it's on the ground. If he stays on that pitch, and we've seen him do this an awful lot this season, drive it the other way. 50th career double. Congratulations to Justin Bohr right there. But great piece of hitting, picking up that double the other way.
We'll keep our eye on Ozuna. As I told you, when he arrived at third, there was a little bit of discomfort, it looked like. He's not running real well here. Looks like he turns it on.
Well, he's not grabbing at anything, so that's good to see.
And Real Muto's in the same spot Ozuna was. Second and third. That one fouled off. The count's 0-1. JT having a fine season. You see, OPS has been right at or just above 800 for a while now.
Really good numbers on the road. 363, 951 OPS.
And if you say around these parts, this is a great young catcher from the state of Oklahoma, Reds fans immediately think of the great Johnny Bench, who was from Oklahoma as well. And Real Muto had a chance finally to meet him last offseason. Now he's behind in the count 0-2. Let's see if Bailey goes to the split. He does. Real Muto hits it on a line right at third baseman Eugenio Suarez. Reds get a double play. Miami done in the first, but not before they put up 2 and lead it 2-0. Big doubles in there. Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bohr. Cincinnati Reds come to the plate in this orderly fashion. Managed by Brian Price and presented by Southwest Airlines. Billy Hamilton steals a lot of bases. Zach Cozart, an all-star at shortstop, and deservedly so. Joey Votto, an all-star as well, has always had good numbers against the Fish. You got some big bats in there. Adam Duvall, Scooter Gennett, of course, from Sarasota. He had the 4-homer game earlier this year. Eugenio Suarez. Scott Schebler's got pop. Tucker Barnhart, switch hitting catcher. And Homer Bailey hits 9th.
Jose Urena on the mound for the Marlins tonight. He's making his 15th start of the season. 7-4, 3.93 ERA, all outstanding. Get this, batting average against on the road this season, 157. So good stuff. That's second best in baseball. Keep your eyes on his slider and his changeup. His last start failed to command those pitches. Those are 2 big pitches Batting average against on the slider 190, changeup 192. So you see how important they are.
Much like with D. Gordon, this is a guy you want to keep off base. Billy Hamilton's on base percentage is .303, but when he does get on 3 out of 10 times, he's usually running.
Well, and he's the hottest guy in the Reds lineup right now. 11 for his last 28, .393 batting average since the second half started. 6-game hitting streak coming into tonight.
Hamilton is a switch hitter, and there was a time where he thought about giving up hitting from this side of the plate, but this year he's actually hitting better from this side of the plate than as a righty.
Well, even just seeing the first 3 pitches, I don't know if this will hold true throughout the series, but he looks a little bit more patient. Seen Billy an awful lot throughout his career, and typically he's a very, very aggressive leadoff hitter, likes to swing that bat. So far, even 4 pitches into this game, he looks like he's a little bit more relaxed, maybe aging, if you will, a little bit.
Swing and a miss. Urena gets the strikeout. Opens his night striking out Billy Hamilton. I told you Miami's defense, fielding percentage wise, is the best in the National League.
Yeah, so is the Cincinnati Reds. They're right there as well. So Marcell Ozuna gets the start in left field tonight. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton at your outfield. Dietrich over at third base. Rojas back in there at short. Gordon, Bohr, Real Muto, and Urena on the mound. Now these teams mirror each other, Rich, so much. It really is amazing, from their leadoff hitters to even a little offensive approach to defensive athleticism. At times the struggles with the pitching.
There's your defensive leaders fielding percentage wise. Urena with a lot of run on that fastball, and he's out in front of all-star starting shortstop Zach Cozart, who is having just a breakout year, and for him it's great timing. He's a free agent at the end of this year.
Well, question here in Cincinnati.
Roller towards short. That's Rojas. Cozart has a sore quad, and he's not running well at all. He didn't play the last game of the Reds last series. He's playing 2 days, getting a day off while that quad tries to heal up.
Well, he's been swinging a hot bat as well. Thought he would be in there tonight after yesterday's off day. 7 for his last 18, .390. But the question is Cozart going to stay, or is he a candidate to be traded?
You know what? I don't think a lot of people around baseball have thought about it or mentioned it enough, in that the Reds are in a bit of a quandary with Cozart. Here's Votto now, and Joey Votto on a hot D. Gordon on the outfield grass. Really nice shutdown inning by Jose Urena, and a 2-0 Miami lead. Cincinnati, hour and 47-minute rain delay. It's the Marlins and the Reds, not here in Cincinnati, but next weekend in Miami. On Sunday, pick up the Aquafina 4 for $84 pack. Get 4 tickets, 4 Nathan's hot dogs, 4 Pepsi soft drinks, or Aquafina waters. And for tickets, go to marlins.com/Aquafina. Aquafina family 4-pack, $84, 4 tickets, and all that food and drink. Derek Dietrich first to the plate in the second against Homer Bailey, Miguel Rojas, and then Jose Urena. Bailey misses down low. A ball and a strike. It just happened by. No, Giancarlo Stanton did not hit a home run in the first inning, but he did double. D. Gordon single, a Stanton double, a Yelich ground ball out produced the first run, and then a wild pitch scored the next. Dietrich on the ground. That is Scooter Gennett out there at second. And he gets the ball on over to first. Gennett was named the everyday second baseman here by Brian Price the other day. He essentially has outplayed the young prospect Jose Peraza. Gennett, of course, had the big 4-homer game, but the guy that went to high school in Sarasota, was born here in the Cincinnati area. Marlin fans remember him as a Brewer, has found a home here in Cincinnati.
He's proven his consistency here, and I think the Reds wanted to find out if he could be the everyday answer. Of course, giving him split opportunity. Now he's earned all of the opportunity.
Rojas getting the start. I mentioned JT Riddle has a little bit of a sore shoulder. Aggravated it a little more on Wednesday. This is a nice series for Riddle, of course. He's a Kentucky native. Kentucky's right across the river. University of Kentucky product. Rojas shoots that liner into right field. That is a typical Miguel Rojas hit. And that brings up Urena and gives him an opportunity to try to bunt and move Rojas to second.
Now you can see why Homer Bailey has had some struggles. This is the second 0-2 pitch has been hit for a base hit by the Marlins lineup. That's the slider. As I told you, lots of struggles with that slider. Throws it about 20% of the time. Nice swing right there by Rojas, going the other way with 2 strikes. But for Bailey, elevated in the zone, getting hit hard.
Urena has 5 sacrifice bunts. And of course, he runs well too, so there's the bunt. Bailey gonna wait and then get it over to Gennett just in time to get Jose Urena. So there's 2 outs and an RBI spot here for D. Gordon, who singled back in the first. Nice to add another run here. Now, the one thing to think about with Gordon up, the outfield's not deep. This is a tiny ballpark to begin with. And so Reds outfielders consistently have high assist numbers. Another liner to third will end an inning. It was Real Muto who did it and lined into a double play to end the first. And Gordon lines out to Suarez to end the second. Approach has been good by the Marlin hitters. They've built a 2-0 lead.
Miguel Rojas back in the lineup after missing more than 2 months with that broken thumb. Here is Rojas on what turned out to be the most important part of his recovery.
The way I keep my conditioning up, I feel like the rest of my body was working well, so I need to stay in shape for this moment where I gonna have the opportunity to play when I come back. So that was huge. Stay in shape, doing my stuff for my legs, for the rest of my body. I think that was the biggest thing for me while I was recovering.
And before Rojas got hurt, we know he was swinging a hot bat. Guys, as far as that goes, he says he's going to keep his approach simple. He already has a hit so far tonight.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Jose Urena looked sharp in the first. Couple ground ball outs and a strikeout. And a fastball comes in to Adam Duvall with Scooter Gennett and Eugenio Suarez for the 40 and 55 Cincinnati Reds. Duvall, an all-star last year, when he broke out with 33 homers, 6th in the National League, drove in 103. That was 5th. Pops it up third base side. Not a lot of foul territory here, but Dietrich makes the catch. 4 quick counts for Jose Urena, and a reminder that Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Homes for Our Troops, building mortgage-free, specially adapted homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Learn more about how Homes for Our Troops is rebuilding lives and visit foxsportsupports.com. Scooter Gennett standing in. Speaking of our troops, there's a really cool event here in Cincinnati this weekend. The 37th National Veterans Wheelchair Games. And in and around downtown, all the hotels are right in that downtown plaza. A ton of veterans. Really good to see. That one driven to left center. Yelich has room, and on the track makes the catch, and Scooter Gennett is denied. And that's out number 2 here in the second inning.
Urena loving this aggressive approach from the Cincinnati Reds. 13 pitches in, he's already recorded 5 outs. Remember his last start, 82 pitches. He was working hard, laboring hard, only able to get through 3 innings. So much better tonight. You see that, 82 pitches, 3 innings, 7 hits, the 3 walks. The Dodgers were wearing him down, forcing big innings. I think there was even an inning in which he went near almost 50 pitches.
That was an inning where Cody Bellinger and Yasmani Grandal both homered against him. He gets a strike on Suarez. Suarez had a big coming out party last year. A guy that was in the Tigers organization, converted shortstop, got a chance to start just about every game for Cincinnati at third base last year. Hit 21 homers, 25 doubles. And he's following that up with another solid season here. He's slugging .459, a .360 on base, 15 homers, 16 doubles. And Urena buries a fastball, 97 with run, nasty stuff. 6 up, 6 down for Jose Urena here in Cincinnati. Miami, a 2-0 lead. In the third. If you can't watch the game on TV, stream it live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go. Download the app. Take Fox Sports Florida Marlins baseball with you wherever you go. Giancarlo Stanton, second at bat, doubled in the first. And Homer Bailey off speed pitch for a strike. And it's 0-1. Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, second time through. A lot of good at bats the first time in against Bailey. Stanton, of course, one of those. He had the board double down the left field line, the Real Muto line drive, which turned into a double play. Rojas off-field hit. Even D. Gordon's line out to finish the second. Bailey misses away. You can tell that for Bailey, there's still a process of him trying to find some sort of a groove or arm slot or something to build upon.
Key number 2 for the game tonight, Rich. Inconsistencies, almost to be expected. And I think it's so interesting when you look at what he's done in 5 games. I mean, he's had of his 5 starts, 2 really good against the Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies in Arizona and Colorado. I mean, that tells you what he's capable of doing. But then you look at his other 3 starts and you're saying to yourself, oh my. I mean, yeah, this is going to be a work in progress. But when you've only made 14 starts in 3 years, what would you expect? He has missed a ton of time.
Forearm surgery in 14, Tommy John in 15, bone spurs before the start of 17. He's 3-2 on Stanton. 3 infielders to the left side. And Stanton swings and misses. I don't think he was thinking 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Homer Bailey reached back just a little bit. A little bit more. That's a very hittable pitch out over the plate, but at 97, a little more than Marlins have been seeing on the gun so far tonight for Bailey.
Now Yelich, he chased home run with a ground ball up the middle. And Bailey misses down low with a fastball. Reds and Marlins delayed an hour and 47 minutes. And at first it was a precaution because they thought rain might hit, and then it did hit. Not heavy, but enough that if the game had started, they probably would have stopped it.
Enough for all of us to justify it, I think, is what we were getting at. A few of us pretty upset that the impending rain was not coming. Took many of us back to a couple weeks ago, the game in D.C. where the Nationals and Braves, I believe it was at the time, had a 2-3 hour rain delay and no rain.
Don't look into the fidget spinner there. Ball 4, and Yelich walks.
The fidget spinners were out during the rain delay.
Without question, and that's how most people, including us, passed our time.
That's exactly right.
Transfixed on the fidget spinner, and all of a sudden we looked up, and an hour and 47 minutes had gone by.
How'd that happen? Yep.
I always want to say Christian Bale on the mound when Homer Bailey is out there, similar to the looks of the Batman, among other role actors.
You're right.
Ozuna into the bat. It shoots out to Jeanette. Gets it out at short. A little spin around on it. That's a bang play at first. He looks safe. Ozuna said he was safe. A lot of the Reds think he's safe to it. They're not really hustling off the field. Let's take a look. Marlins are looking at the video here. And the Marlins will not challenge. Ozuna gave the safe sign as he came across the bag and sold it to the dugout. But after looking at the video, the Marlins will not challenge it. We'll take a look at it when we return. Major League Baseball are players that are sure that they're safe, that don't turn out to be. But this was close enough for a review. Wow, that's really close.
Call was out. Is there enough to overturn it?
Nope. And that, as the Marlins video room with Ed Lucas down there, is a good non-challenge. Early in the game, you're up 2-0. It's the third out of the inning. There's a lot of baseball strategy that goes into whether you challenge or not. Not just, hey, let's take a flyer here. I want to call it first base. So Ureña's back out. Scott Schebler's up. And you got Tucker Barnhart and then Homer Bailey for the Reds.
Here in the third inning for Ureña. Just threw his 17th pitch. He's used his fastball almost exclusively.
Schebler gets hit. And he's on his way down to first base.
As fast as I said it, out came the slider right there, 86 miles an hour. It's Schebler. It's the 10th hit batter for Ureña on the season.
Brings up Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart getting the bulk of the catching duties last year and this year. Devin Mesoraco has had a couple of injury-filled seasons, last 2 seasons, and so Barnhart been getting a lot of work behind the plate. Switch hitting catcher, high school teammate of Drew Storen in Brownsburg, Indiana. Speaking of Indiana, Don Mattingly grew up in Evansville, Indiana, and this was his team, he said, as a kid, the Cincinnati Reds. Never came to a game here. His only 2 major league games that he attended before he was drafted by the Yankees were actually in St. Louis. And it was a big group outing with the little league teams and such. But he liked the Reds. He said in his backyard, you had to fill out a lineup card using the Reds roster, and then you had to hit from that side of the plate, the same side as a Tony Perez, switch hitting Pete Rose, Joe Morgan. Liner into right, hit well. Stan cuts it off. Racing onto third base is Schebler. And Barnhart's got himself a loud single, and the Reds are in business with a pitcher Bailey coming up.
Back-to-back off-speed pitches thrown. Schebler hit by the pitch. Barnhart rips it into right center field. There's the changeup right there. Runners on first and third. Pitcher Homer Bailey. So the first bit of trouble that Ureña gets himself into tonight here in the third.
By the way, in those backyard games for Don Mattingly, when he made out the Reds lineup, his favorite player on the Reds was Tony Perez. And so Mattingly would put Perez in the lineup, and he'd have to hit right-handed, but he would not put Johnny Bench in the lineup. He would bring reserve catcher Terry Kennedy off the bench, because that meant he would get another left-handed at bat.
Made more sense.
It makes more sense.
That's how it was.
Let's see how the Reds play this. Bailey's going to bunt. He does. Runner going to second. Ureña spins, fires to first. And so the Reds get 1 runner from first to second. Ureña keeps the runner at third. And it's Billy Hamilton and Zach Kozart coming up. And it's burgers and beer when the Reds come to town on July 28th on Friday. You get a craft beer, a juicy hamburger, and a game ticket. And it starts at just $30. Marlins.com/burger to get your tickets. Hamilton now, and don't discount the possibility of a bunt. Hamilton can really run. Middle infield is back. Corners are in because of that threat. And Ureña gets a strike. Hamilton struck out back in the first.
He did. He saw nothing but fastballs. Ureña right at him with a slider. Good pitch for him. Get ahead of Billy Hamilton.
Still a warm and muggy night, despite the hour 47-minute rain delay here. Hamilton cracks it to right. Stanton is there, makes the catch. Tagging is Schebler and Barnhart. Schebler scores. Barnhart gets to third. And little Billy Hamilton delivers the RBI with a sacrifice fly.
Hamilton getting the job done. Elevate and drive one out to right field. We knew some runs were going to be scored in this game tonight, probably throughout the series. Rich, no surprise here in the third. Both these teams on the board already.
Well, here's Cozart. Certainly having a terrific year. He's on base at 400. He's slugging .566. He chases a slider. That's a pitch that, as you pointed out, just wasn't working against the Dodgers.
Well, and from what we've seen so far tonight from Urania, a little more velocity on the slider. That registering 86, 87 miles an hour. That's good to see. Has more life to it. Again, much better action on that pitch. So clearly he understood from his last start where those secondary pitches were. He looks a little bit more ready for it tonight, or has a little better feel for that slider, that changeup. Such big pitches to his arsenal. They complement his fastball well. But if he has to survive on his four-seam fastball all night long, he typically gets in trouble.
Cozart was the starting shortstop, the first Reds shortstop to start since Barry Larkin. Larkin and David Concepcion both were all-star starters. And he got a hit, remember, third inning off of Dylan Betances. And here in Cincinnati, that was big news, because Reds hitters in the All-Star game going back to 2010 were 0 for 25.
Oh my.
0 for 25.
Really?
Hard to believe. You would think Votto would get a couple of knocks. 3-2. Ozuna is there, and he makes the catch. Reds get one back. 3 innings in. 2-1 Miami. South Florida Honda dealers get you going tomorrow at 6:30. Craig Minervini, Jeff Nelson, Preview Marlins Reds game 2. Oh, the Marlins and Reds tomorrow. The new studios. Have you seen the new studios yet?
I have not seen them. I mean, I've seen them, but I haven't been there to see them.
Well, I've seen you there, but it's up on the big board behind Craig and Nelly.
Raised an eyebrow. I was like, wait a minute. Have I been there?
Robert Stevenson and Chris O'Grady on the hill. Justin Bour doubled first at bat, and he takes in a ball and a strike. Bour 15 doubles now. That'll add to his slugging percentage, which is up over .550. Bailey gets a strike. Top slugging percentage in the National League, Bryce Harper, .632. Cody Bellinger at .622. And Bour muscles that into center field. He's got a 2-hit night.
Start to the 4th inning for the Marlins. They've got into a little bit of a rhythm. Two-seam fastball. The tailing action. He's hoping that gets a little farther in and works its way to the inside corner, 95 miles an hour. Just before able to fight it off. See how it gets back to the inside corner? Just enough barrel to get it in center.
JT Realmuto hit one right on the button, but it was right at Suarez at third, and that ended the first. Turned into a double play, and he pulls this one wide of Suarez. The count's 0-1. Suarez has had a couple hard smashes hit his way.
Reds playing Realmuto way over on the infield. Over shift.
Suarez
at third. Jeanette almost behind second base.
That was one of the highlights of the rain delay, wasn't it? Is watching Eugenio Suarez.
Seen enough of him tonight.
They have a salsa dance with Suarez, and during the rain delay they played salsa music and they put it up on the giant scoreboard.
No offense, but they put it in auto mode.
It was in an endless loop.
Yes, it would not stop.
And there was like
nothing wrong with his dancing, it just never ended.
A whole half hour of Suarez salsa dancing during the rain delay. Realmuto gets into one, center field. Billy Hamilton on patrol is there, and he makes a catch. So an out here in the 4th, and it brings up Derek Dietrich. Dietrich bounced out back in the 2nd. Big fireworks show is planned after the ball game. Dietrich up the middle. Right there is Cozart, and he's got a double play. That's the 3rd double play in 4 innings that Bailey has used to get out of trouble. Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep, by Hankook, chase down your passion, never halfway, and by your South Florida Chevy dealer. We cannot escape Eugenio Suarez.
Torture.
Who is such a good salsa dancer.
What did we do wrong?
There he is. That was rain-delayed theater for a long time.
Good hour and 15 minutes.
Good rhythm, though.
Absolutely.
Like it.
He's knocking it. Get out of the loop.
Here's Joey Votto. And he takes a strike. Adam Duvall. Scooter Gennett against Jose Urena here in the fourth. Votto's bounced out. He takes down low. It's 1-1. Votto, an all-star this year. It was the 5th time he's been an all-star.
He's been struggling lately. No homers, no RBIs here in the second half. The longest homestand of the season for the Reds.
4 for his last 23, but 26 home runs for Votto. Significant before the All-Star break. One of the most discerning eyes for any hitter in baseball and baseball history. Most in his career before the All-Star break, 26 homers. And as usual, his on-base percentage is a healthy .424. And Urena gets him. Votto voices his displeasure with Chris Siegel.
Some outstanding work to the inner third against Joey Votto.
Well, that's close. That's right up against it.
Well, it certainly is. Two-seam action. Back-to-back pitches up underneath Joey's hands. Likes to choke up. I think a little Anthony Rizzo at times. Choke up on that bat and get right on top of home plate. Urena is not scared off. Went right back in there 2 different times.
Adam Duvall now. Duvall swings and misses. Duvall, a couple of sluggers in this lineup, Duvall and Schebler, who came to the Reds in trades for big names. The Mike Leake trade to San Francisco brought Duvall, who put up enormous power numbers in the Giants minor leagues. Pops this one up. JT Realmuto for a look, and it's over the screen. And Duvall found himself in the All-Star game last year. And he, like Dustin McGowan, we run into a few players in baseball, and you're always amazed when you hear it, are playing at this high a level in this demanding sport with type 1 diabetes.
Duvall, outstanding numbers once again, is one of the struggling Reds hitters, though. 10 strikeouts in his last 30 at-bats. No home runs in the second half either. And you look at the numbers, and that's kind of what this Reds team, we'd mentioned the Reds 1-6 since here the start of the second half on this homestand. Played the Nationals, played the Arizona Diamondbacks. In fact, got swept by the Nationals in the 4-game series. Get this, they've only scored 21 runs. So the offense has been scuffling a bit.
It's a fair ball. Dietrich sets his feet and fires a shot across the diamond. Jose Urena has got 2 outs.
And one thing this Reds team can't withstand is an offensive slump because of their pitching. We talked about the number of home runs they give up. Even the walks, a bit of an issue. So they've got issues in the bullpen. They've got issues in the starting rotation. They've got a lineup that can't slump. And if they slump, they're going to go 1-6 in 7 ball games. That's what, plain and simple. And during July, they have not been swinging the bats all that well. The home runs haven't been there. The consistency throughout the lineup hasn't been there, and it just doesn't pair well with the struggles on the mound.
Now Scooter Gennett, who had the 4-homer game, the 17th player in Major League history to hit 4 homers in a game. And if you follow the Marlins in the National League, you know he was a Milwaukee Brewer. If you watch the show here, we've told the story of his first name Scooter a few times. He was born in the Cincinnati area, went to high school in Sarasota, and when he was about 4 or 5 years old, he would not wear his seatbelt. Refused to do it, so his mom thought she'd teach him a lesson, took him down to the local police station and told the friendly officer, hey, my son here won't wear a seatbelt. The officer felt he'd play along and did somewhat of a mock interrogation and asked him what his name was. And at that point, he didn't want to tell the officer his name, so he thought about his favorite television show, which was The Muppet Show. And you remember the character Scooter? He said, I'm Scooter. And from that point forward, he was known as Scooter. He could have picked Fozzie or who were the two old guys that sat up in the.
That's you and me. The
That's
grumpy
true.
old guys.
That's true.
Up narrating everything. Right.
Stadler and Waldorf. Thank you from the truck. So he went with Scooter. Bunton Honeydew from the truck would have been their choice. Swing and a miss, and it's 1-1. Suarez, as we talked about, if the Reds get what they've been able to get last year and this year from this guy, well, that's a nice find.
Solid production. Nice day yesterday. A couple of solo home runs and a 12-2 loss for the Reds. 4-game hitting streak going. 5 hits, 2 doubles, 3 homers. So guys in the Cincinnati Reds lineup really swinging the bat. A few others not so much.
Two out, walk to Jeanette. Two balls, 2 strikes. Suarez, Venezuelan. Changeup at 89 miles an hour. On this Friday night in baseball, there was a day game. Cardinals scored, I believe it was 8 times in the 9th inning and beat the Cubs 11-4. Or was it 9 times in the 8th inning?
There you go.
Thank you. Still impressive either way.
Yes. All over the Cubs bullpen.
11-4. Cardinals beat the Cubs. And the talk around the Central, of course, was the Pirates and their sweep of Milwaukee, and the Cubs were the beneficiaries of that. But of course, the Pirates are playing better.
Brew Crew trying to get things right. They're losing in Philadelphia tonight, 6-1.
Well, the Phillies apparently have woken up. Yeah, that is gum. 3-2. Tough hop. Dietrich, bare hands, fires across, safe at first. Ball bounces from Bohr. He'll pick it up. That was a tricky hop on the backhand. It came up almost knee high up near that waist area. Here's another look.
One bad hop kind of catches him on the heel. Quickly recovers, gets a throw across the diamond, but a short hops Bohr, who had to pick it clean to even have a shot. Fortunately, not able to make the play. Scooter Jeanette all the way over to third base. Suarez safe at first. Now runners on first and third, 2 outs here, bottom of the 4th inning. It's got a lot of topspin on it, a lot of English.
Yeah, that came up a lot higher than his waist. He was crouched over.
It's almost head high. Catches him on the glove, recovers pretty quickly, but again at third base you have split seconds to get that ball across the diamond. 2 outs, still an escape patch here for Urania. against Scott Schebler. He's 2 for his last 24. No home runs, no RBIs in the second half.
But he's popped 22 this year. And he's another guy that the Reds got back in a trade that sent one of the bigger names here somewhere else. It was the three-way for the Reds with the White Sox and the Dodgers. White Sox ended up getting Todd Frazier. Reds got Jose Peraza and Schebler. And Schebler has actually turned out to be the more productive of those two players, though Peraza is still young and many feel will turn into a fine infielder. Schebler was a 26th round draft pick of the Dodgers. An Iowa guy. Ureña's fallen behind 2-0. Suarez at first. Jeanette at third. Three for three. He was hit by a pitch in the third. And so at 3-1, you expect it's go time here for Schebler.
3 for 3, certainly. Schebler should be confident here against Ureña. Need to be aggressive.
Runner goes, and the pitch hits the umpire in the foot. It's ball 4, and I think actually hitting Chris Siegel, or at least it appeared to, may have saved a run there.
Right between the legs. How is that possible? Schebler kind of slides that leg out of the way just in time, and it goes between the legs of Scott Schebler
and off the shoe of Chris Siegel. That ball goes to the screen. If it doesn't hit the shoe, and Jeanette scores from third, you would expect.
Well, 2 walks and a base hit. Loaded the bases for the Cincinnati Reds, and for Ureña, you see some of the complications of the struggles or the lack of the slider and the changeup consistently. When he gets forced into situations where he has to use his four-seam fastball, his next most reliable pitch, to get strikes, he's a little bit hesitant. Don't blame him. This is Great American Ballpark. The ball flies. He struggled his last start. Ideally against Barnhart, he'd like to get ahead. Ureña's at his best. He's willing to use all 3 of his pitches in any count, and that's what you saw about 2-3 starts ago when he was really locked in. That changeup and slider in hitters' counts.
Barnhart lined a single to right, and Ureña misses up. It's 1-0. Gets a strike, 96 with the fastball. He's at 28 pitches here in the 4th. And look at the economy of pitches early in the game.
Well, it also speaks to the aggressiveness of this Reds team. He came out really swinging the bats. He's trying to jump on somewhat of a struggling pitcher. Ureña made great pitches. Here in the 4th, 28 and climbing. Love to get out of this jam.
Ball and a strike. Bases filled with Reds. It's 2-1. Fastball got away from him. Now it's 3-1. And now you have to be a little concerned if you're Don Mattingly. Both of his walks have come this inning.
Now you see what Urania is really trying to do in almost staying away from the four-seam fastball. What you're seeing, that fastball that's running off the outside corner, that's his two-seam fastball, but he does not control that very well either. He's hoping that he can find a strike.
We get a strike there.
Well, he just reared back and went after him with 95 miles an hour. And Urania, has at times the last couple starts kind of boxed himself into predictable counts because his secondary pitches have not been consistent. He's still trying to find it and search for it. Again, with the two-seamer, the changeup, and the slider, when he's at his best, he'll throw those pitches for strikes, keeping hitters off balance. Right now, he's becoming quite predictable.
What do you predict here?
He's going to throw a fastball. He has to.
3-2. Rip to right. Stanton comes in, and he makes the catch. A running catch just above the shoe tops. And Urania escapes. The Reds leave him loaded. Miami still has the lead. A nice running catch by Stanton. Unlimited baseball break music, which means Kurt Suzuki pops on your screen. He had a big night last night. Ding dong, the Dodgers, well, they're not dead, but they finally lost a game. 11-game win streak is over. Andrew McCutchen continues to roll. Everybody in Central Florida stand up, take a foul for that. And Justin Smoke, 6th career multi-homer game, living up to that all-star appearance. Smoke stacks out in center.
All right, we told you lots of offense all night here in Cincinnati. The Natty, we've got you 3 runs.
That's right.
I mean, that's baseball, though, right?
No question. This is going to be the homeringest series
you've ever seen. Right, there should be 12 home runs for each team. 2-1. Here we go.
Rojas line to right back in the second. Homer Bailey delivers. Bailey making start number 6. In opening the night with an ERA of over 10, which is very un-Homer-like, or un-Bailey-like is probably a better way to say it.
That's definitely Homer-like.
Yes.
One thing Bailey has been able to do, keep the ball down to these Marlins hitters. You've noticed all the action so far tonight out of his hand, particularly with the fastball. Obviously, the splitty works its way down in the zone. He's going to climb up here for the first time tonight. He's really worked below the knees.
Hope you heard Miguel Rojas with Jessica Blaylock earlier in our telecast, talking about the best thing that he did when rehabbing was keep up the fitness, run, stayed in great shape. Of course, when it's just a thumb injury, you can do that. When it's an ankle or a hamstring, not as easy. You do most of your rehab work in a Swim-X, the pool with the jets and the moving bottom, where you can actually take some weight off and still get the range of motion.
Yeah, non-weight bearing. Spent a lot of time in Swim-X.
Oh, 2. What was your favorite thing to do in the Swim-X?
Get out. It was hard times. Broken legs, 2 broken legs, and a lot of issues in that recovery. I mean, the thing about the Swim-X, it's very misleading. You get in and you feel great. All of a sudden, you're running like you feel like you normally could, and that was the issue that I had when I broke my leg the 2 different times. Was that I could get into the Swim-X and actually feel like a normal human being again, but as soon as I stepped on dry ground, it was right back to obviously the pain and the issues that I was dealing with my leg. So it was, you know, you're right. I mean, you can go in there and you certainly keep yourself in shape and in condition, but it didn't get you back on the field as fast as I would have liked.
Rojas fighting off some 0-2 pitches. And he holds up on that breaking ball in the dirt. Barring imminent weather tomorrow night, Joey Votto will be swinging for the fences. That's a presumptive headline, though, isn't it? I mean, Votto, I think if you put selectively swings for the fences, then that would be accurate. I don't think they had enough room for selectively swinging for the fences. Good breaking ball there. Homer Bailey with a strikeout. Jessica Blaylock, where are you tonight?
Hey, I'm hanging out by the Marlins dugout. Rich, you mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. Homer Bailey has not just 1, but 2 no-hitters to his credit. He threw the first one back in September of 2012. The second one came 277 days later in July of 2013. There are only 5 active pitchers in Major League Baseball who have thrown 2 no-hitters. The other ones, Max Scherzer, Jake Arrieta, Cole Hamels, and Justin Verlander. How about that for good company?
Yeah, and the Marlins will see 2 of them, of those 5, on this road trip, right? Cole Hamels in Texas.
That is correct. Interestingly enough, both Homer Bailey's no-hitters against the same team, Pittsburgh Pirates.
New bat for Jose Urena, who has an accent and a tilde.
You like that tilde, don't you?
I do, because for Urena, it's a good story. I mean, he got to the big leagues and everybody butchered his name, Urena. And I asked him when he first got, I said, how do you pronounce your last name? He says Urena. I asked him, how come there's no tilde? And he said, well, there's supposed to be, but I don't think I've been here long enough to ask for one. The 0-2. He drives that one to right field, hits it well. Schebler won't get it. It's by him. Now Urena can run, and he's already at second base. He ran out from under the helmet. The hair was flying. The bench was excited. And he's put himself in scoring position, and the tilde stayed on his uniform.
Nice swing, nice approach, going the other way. Strikes. See him puffing and puffing his way around, picking up his second hit of the season. Said that Jose is a much better athlete than he's let on with the bat this year.
Well, the other question here is whose bat did he go get after he busted the one he was using? He's at second. Gordon at the plate. Outfield is in tight. Gordon shortens the bunt. And it's in. You got Votto just a step on the grass. Same with Suarez at third. Gordon, a high chopper. That backs Jeanette up. And he just gets Gordon in time. Urena ends up at third base. Geico brings you this day in Marlins history. John Cangelosi, first Marlins position player to pitch in a game. A scoreless ninth and a 10-2 loss to San Diego.
Now, speaking of history, let me correct Bailey's no-nos. For some reason, I don't know why I had it in my head that both of them were against the Pirates. One was against the Pirates, the other one was against the San Francisco Giants. Those two no-hitters, 277 days apart.
So a stand at bat with Urania at third, 3 infielders for the Reds on the third base side of second. Stanton doubled down the left field line in the first and then struck out in the third on a 3-2 fastball. Ball and a strike. Stanton now 20 doubles to go with 30 homers. Really wastes one. Giancarlo's slugging percentage right around 5th in the National League. He's at .592. That would be a point behind Anthony Rendon. Harper, Bellinger, Blackmon, Votto, Rendon, Stanton, Arenado, Zimmerman, Murphy, and Justin Turner. Those are your top 10 doing damage with those slugging percentages. That's the pitch that Bailey struck him out on. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back with it here in this at bat.
A little bit of a pattern that Bailey has shown is the desire to elevate with that fastball, that only to go back down, particularly with the splitty.
Yeah, he went with that fastball again. Stanton got a piece. Barnhart. Good take by Stanton. And Bailey, when he's thrown that slider to Stanton, it's been more of a come chase me pitch.
Well, when somebody like Bailey, again, who's had inconsistent results, you see the approach. Elevation at the top of the zone and then off that outside corner to Stanton, which is a very common pattern that he sees. But for Bailey, the secondary pitches, his best one has really been the split finger, that changeup that you've seen anywhere between 86 and 89. That's been the most consistent for him this year. That slider, hitters are slugging .677 against that slider. So again, obviously some hesitation. If he's going to miss, he's knows tonight he wants to miss way off.
That was way off, and he did miss. Stanton is aboard, and that's going to bring Yelich up. Good at bat by Giancarlo Stanton. Yelich has walked and knocked in a run with a ground ball out. Bailey 68 pitches in. That right side is open with Votto holding Stanton. The Reds playing Yelich pretty much straight up. A little bit of a shift over from Cozart. Reds shortstop. In-game jackpot brought to you by the Florida Lottery. Go ahead RBIs. Yelich is in the National League leaders in the top 5. Stanton in there as well. Travis Shaw having a really nice year for Milwaukee. Of course, Yelich with that ground ball knocked in a run to give Miami a 1-0 lead. Bailey misses up. It's 2-1. This along with the first, the most stressful inning for Bailey. He's at 23 now.
Marlins making him work, not giving in, not chasing just off the corners.
Yelich had a good rip.
First time up, Bailey went to the split finger fastball to get Yelich. See what he does here with 2 strikes.
Yelich over the mound and cutting across his Cozart. And the Marlins leave a couple. Homer Bailey, Jose Urena matched up. It's 2-1 Miami.
Telecast is presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and the descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
Jose Urena in Cincinnati tonight. Right now holding a 2-1 lead. His arsenal tonight.
A few more change-ups than sliders. You know how important that slider is to the arsenal, but as expected, a few more fastballs along the way. We got into that really good rhythm. You were seeing a lot more sliders and changes, but no surprises. I kind of expected him to be more aggressive with the fastball tonight. To be, I don't want to use the word predictable because I don't think that's it, but again, he needed to establish that pitch and then work his way back to the slider and the changeup.
Gave up, remember, the 2 home runs to the Dodgers, Bellinger and Grandal, in that big 3rd inning, and that was the end of him in that start. He lasted just the 3 innings. And here, he really hasn't given up a lot of loud contact. The Reds have just 2 hits. Miami has 6. Homer Bailey, Billy Hamilton, Zach Cozart for Cincinnati. Bailey had a sacrifice bunt back in the 3rd. The Great American Ballpark is a fun place to be. It's usually a ballpark that has a good buzz in the crowd. Gordon underhands. cool stuff around it. You've got the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Jessica usually pays a visit there. You've got all the new, they're not new, but seemingly there's a new one every year. I think Pete Rose is the latest statue, but of course the Big Red Machine is well represented around. Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose. I think there's actually a Ted Kluszewski statue out there too. And I think he's got the, you know, the sleeveless jersey without the undershirt. Teams used to have the vests with the undershirt for sleeves. Well, when he wanted to put on a gun show, Ted Kluszewski would leave the sleeves of the undershirt in his locker and just throw on the vest. Yeah. This is going to be a tough play. Hamilton racing, and Urena throws him out. And of course, the Pete Rose statue is perfect Pete Rose, as you would expect. Charlie Hustle sliding in head first.
Fantastic.
Tony Perez has got a bat. Joe Morgan has his statue.
You can see the details under his arms right there of his hands taking up the dirt as he's starting his slide.
He kind of has Bryce Harper's hair in that slide, though.
Good flow?
Yeah. Right?
It's good flow. You know, much like Jose Urena, Pete Rose's helmet pop off pretty regularly as he was going around the bases.
Pete always used to put his hand up to try to hold it on.
Well, but he didn't always.
Yes. That's true. I think that slide is modeled after one in the '75 World Series where he came into third base against Boston. I always find it interesting that they have the Big Red Machine. Don't they call them the Great Eight from that Big Red Machine? But they never had a Great Nine. They never included the pitchers. There was never, when you think of Big Red Machine, you don't think Jack Billingham or Don Gullett. It's Concepcion, Morgan, and Perez, Rose, Bench. You can even go to the outfield with Griffey and throw in Dan Dreesen if you want. George Foster, who came along a little bit later. Bozart takes in, counts full, 3-2. Rojas makes a tricky play very easily and throws out Cozart. 1-2-3, strong fifth for Urena. Series. That's almost the series to prove who's the second best team in the National League behind the Dodgers, right? I mean, the Nationals, of course, lead the East. Arizona's second in the West. And look at these two guys, 73 apiece. Both 5 innings in. Into the 6th go Homer Bailey and you would think Jose Urena, but we'll see how this inning progresses. Marcell Ozuna, Justin Bour, JT Realmuto against Bailey. Both managers are probably looking at their lineup cards going, hey, look, it's nice to get this far with the starters. And they haven't been able to say that in the 5th, the 6th, or the 7th much at all this year. These two staffs have the lowest amount of innings for starters of anybody in baseball. Red starters are dead last with their number of innings, and the Marlins are 29th in baseball with their starter innings.
Well, for both tonight, both Urena and Bailey, they've been able to get themselves out of that one big inning that was almost setting itself up.
1-1. Ozuna swings, and then watch the follow through.
Split finger fastball fooled. Marcel's been a little in between tonight, behind the 95 and out in front of the split finger fastballs. He's had a hard time picking Bailey up tonight.
Barnhart sets up in. Fastball in. Ozuna pops it into right center. And Jeanette goes out. He doesn't get it. And then he kicks it. And Ozuna puts it into gear and gets to second base. Good hustle and a good sign. Remember, Ozuna didn't run all that well. He seemed uncomfortable early in the game. He looked quite comfortable once he saw that ball kicked in the outfield.
Well, with 2 strikes, stays inside, gets jammed. Hit it all that hard, but finds the triangle between second, right, and center field. Jeanette, tremendous effort, but as he rolls over, ends up hitting the baseball with his knee and throwing it 10 feet in the opposite direction. Ozuna hustling all the way. Off the bat, this looked like it was going to fall for a hit, and you see him kind of with anxious eyes seeing it, but as soon as it takes that hit off Jeanette, able to get into second. Great start to the 6th. See if the Marlins can't capitalize.
Justin Bour's had 2 nice at bats tonight. Doubled down the left field line, singled to center. So he's 2 for 2. Infield shifted around to the right side.
I laugh. I continue to see the shifting on Bour, and it's like, you know, even the stubbornness of the game or what even the numbers might read. But how many times have we seen him go the other way in these situations? Pitcher will make a mistake on the outer third. You think he's going to roll it over and pull something to the right side. He'll use that spot where the vacated shortstop is. We saw him do it on the homestand a couple times.
Bailey now at 0-2. There's your hit spray chart. He's done damage to left. Now it's about contact and trying to put something in play. And if you don't knock the run in, at least move Ozuna to third. Still 0-2.
I mentioned the Marlins have been able to get guys on base tonight. They have it a pretty consistent clip. 3 double plays, 1 bailed Bailey out of that first inning, only gave up the couple runs, but the 3rd and the 4th, a couple of key double plays ended those innings as well.
Good take. 1-2. Bour's done a lot of good work on the road this year. last 21 road games, including tonight, his average up around 375. 7 homers as well. Ozuna, the runner at second. He's got Cozart right behind him. Boy, it looked like he was trying to shoot it left side.
Well, Bailey's convinced he'll chase that splitty off the outside corner. He's trying to get some running action on the pitch. The first one missed. That one there a bit closer to the strike zone. That's the pitch that I'm talking about, that Bohr has been willing to stay behind and drive it the other way. So Bailey better be careful right here. If he does it again, might watch Justin Bohr shoot one through that left side, right where that shortstop used to be.
Another 1-2 comes in, throw behind, and that's exactly where Cozart is. He's behind second base. Ozuna got back in. Barnhart wanted that pitch. We saw him creep in. And you could hear Chris Siegel, the home plate umpire, scream inside on the pitch. The count's 2-2. It's fun at bat here watching Bailey and Bohr, and the cat and mouse game between the two.
Yeah, hard in, soft away so far has been the pattern. So what Bailey chooses to do here.
In again. And Bohr, a liner. It's caught by Jeanette. That's one of those where it's an offer in the scorebook and in the box score. But that's a really good at bat for Justin Bohr.
Yeah, it really is. Ginza going back to the two-seam fastball inside, kind of doubling up there after just missing on the pitch before. Justin Bohr, wise enough, goes after it this time and lines it to Jeanette over at second base. Fortunately for the Marlins, Marcell Ozuna unable to move up.
Real Muto now has lined into a double play and flied to deep left center. Reds bullpen is stirring right now.
JT, a couple of nice at bats against Bailey. No results yet.
Up the middle, and it's into center field. Ozuna around third. Hamilton up with it. Strong throw to the plate, and Ozuna is out. Real Muto ends up at second base. Billy Hamilton throws out Marcell Ozuna.
Hard hit ball off the bat of Real Muto, right back through the middle. Hamilton charges hard and gets off a really good throw, quick throw. One hop strike. Marcell Ozuna, he got the best turn around third base. A little bit of a stutter step. Watch this around third. Yeah, see the little hesitation right there. And it cost him a step or two. He's out by 2 or 3 steps.
That's close. Marlins looked at it, but will not challenge it.
Barnhart had to adjust to the short hop. That short hop took him back behind the plate. He did set up in front originally, but had to slide to the backside. So be a little more circumstantial. Remember, catcher has the right. He has to provide a lane initially, but is allowed to adjust to the flight of the baseball. And that short hop, if he would have stayed out in front, might not have been able to catch it.
So it's Dietrich now, and there are 2 outs. And Dietrich pops it up on the infield. Cozart and Jeanette. It's Cozart, and Bailey pitches out of the jam. Marlins get a couple hits and leave a runner, but still lead at 2-1.
In the bottom of the 6th. Hey, one thing that the Marlins and the Reds have in common, they have trios that can knock the ball out of the park. For the Marlins, it's Giancarlo Stanton, Marcell Ozuna, and Justin Bour, who have combined for 74 home runs. For the Reds, it's Joey Votto, Scott Schebler, and Adam Duvall. Votto and Duvall both due up this inning. They have combined for 68. And how about this, guys? The trios for both the Marlins and the Reds lead Major League Baseball in that stat.
Well, we at the outset of our telecast alerted everybody that they like home runs. It's a good place to park yourself. And so far, Jose Urena, Homer Bailey have been sharp. Bailey especially has pitched out of trouble. He's used 3 double play balls. And, of course, a great throw by Billy Hamilton to nail Marcell Ozuna to keep it at 2-1. And this will be a test here for Urena. He's got the heart of the order: Votto, Duvall, Jeanette, and if anybody reaches, Suarez. Votto's bounced out, was called out on strikes in the 4th. Change up for a strike. Votto was not happy with a called 3rd back in the 4th, but it showed up on Fox Tracks right on the corner of the plate. Little chopper. Urena gets it, underhands it. Out number 1. On Saturday the 29th, it's Reds and Marlins, and it's D. Gordon bobblehead night. 7,500 fans get a D. Gordon bobblehead courtesy of Rico. Act quickly, they'll be gone in a flash. Tickets at marlins.com/tickets.
Really?
Didn't read it, or didn't write it, just read it. Okay. Should have edited.
No culpability.
Should have edited
your end.
Yes. I should have read a disclaimer before then. Right?
Exactly right.
Where's Terry when I need him?
There you go.
Adam Duvall is up. He's popped out and bounced out. Games are going final across baseball. The Mets beat Oakland 7-5. That was in New York. Texas, Marlins are in Texas to face the Rangers. Texas beat the Rays in extra innings 4-3. Phillies kept that lead, and the Phillies beat Milwaukee by a score of 6-1.
My eye on the Pittsburgh Pirates right now. They're hard charging. 7-3 in Colorado. Top 5, excuse me. Check that. 8-3.
Always good to visit with their advanced scout, Mike Basso, whom we see in a variety of ballparks. And his team, Pirates, all of a sudden have life. And that series, that game is in Denver. Arizona still leading Washington 5-0, top 4. Craig had highlights of that in our studio a couple innings ago. Two balls, 2 strikes, and 1 out here in the 6th. That is strike 3 called. It's kind of a backup changeup that floated almost from middle of the plate onto the inside corner.
That has a lot of running action on it. You see this at times from his changeup. I guess tonight what I'm surprised at is the velocity. It's not a perfect pitch, but it's certainly one that catches the ball's attention. As you see it backing up and kind of chasing his hands inside. Too close to take, I would say. Not even a check swing. Duvall.
Jeanette lifts it right center. You got Stanton and Yelich. Yelich calls, Yelich catches, and a very brief 6th inning for Jose Urena. He has been holding on tight to a 2-1 lead. Stay in the Cayman Islands on Labor Day weekend. Just tweet, get your hashtags ready here. Tweet hashtag Southwest Summer Days Sweeps, and then hashtag sponsored to @Fox Sports FL for your chance to win. There you go. She has not put that fidget spinner down.
Well, that's what they do to you right there. That's once you start, you can't stop.
She hasn't blinked either. Oh, there she goes. Into the bullpen go the Reds, and Wandy Peralta is the first out of the pen. Speaking of the bullpen, and that was the news around the Marlins yesterday and today. We've talked about it a lot with David Phelps being traded to Seattle. One thing we haven't talked about is the Marlins flew out of Miami International yesterday about 4 o'clock. That trade was done earlier in the day. David Phelps boarded the plane in shorts and tennis shoes and a shirt at about 3:30 when everybody was on the plane. He wasn't flying to Cincinnati with the team, but he wanted to tell everybody thank you. He went up and down the plane, whether you were a player, whether you were a front office staff member, a coach, broadcaster, and it was really nice to see. Phelps, a heartfelt thank you to everybody, a handshake for everybody, and a line drive for Miguel Rojas. Miggy around first, big turn, he'll hold there. Lead off single, and that'll allow Urena to try to bunt him up. Second hit for Miguel Rojas. But really, that was such a classy thing for Phelps, and we certainly wish him luck and success over in the American League with Seattle.
Well said. The one thing I would add, I think most Marlins fans, they see what a competitor he is on the mound, that scowl on his face sometimes when he's out there doing his job and working hard. Just a tremendous guy behind the scenes. Everything you just said is spot on. Shook every person's hand on the airplane yesterday. Took what, I don't know, 20-30 minutes,
right? And then
and then it was, I mean, he had to get on his way. He was not part of our agenda, our flight, or anything else like that. You know, got off the plane and made his way to Seattle.
So pissed right now.
Urena is a pretty good bunter. He takes a strike.
Peralta has been in a pretty good spot of late. Hasn't a lot of run since June 23rd. He's got an active 10-game, 12-inning scoreless streak going into tonight. Also leads this Reds team in appearances, now on for the 44th time.
Urena pulled back. This has been a good game for him offensively, as well as on the mound. Jose has a sacrifice bunt and a double. His first career extra base hit. I think he pulled back on that too. He's not real deliberate about pulling back. It's kind of like at the last minute.
Rich, you almost want to kind of in your own mind think along, as I've talked and even showed in the demo den a few times. You know, when you bunt, you got to catch the baseball. You got to, you're not jabbing at it. So what he's doing is getting his hands out there early, and then as the ball's coming back into the zone, pulling back once he realizes it's a ball.
That one he offered it, and it's 2-2.
Frustrated with himself. That ball down 98 miles an hour, but not anywhere near the strike zone.
That's a foul tip and a strikeout. Rojas still at first. Gordon coming up. Got a watch party coming up on this road trip. We'll be in Texas, Marlins and Rangers, and it will be hot there as well. Hialeah Racetrack and Casino. You can meet Billy the Marlin, win prizes. You got drink deals and all of that. Marlins.com/appearances. You can join the watch party. You watch the Marlins and the Rangers here on Fox Sports Florida and have a party. D. Gordon Fastball up and a visit from Barnhart out to Peralta. D has singled, lined out, bounced out. Miami got both their runs in the first. A Gordon single, a Stanton double. Yelich a ground ball out to knock in 1 run. And then remember, Bailey bounced one that got by Barnhart. That scored Stanton. And Miami's had opportunities after that. 3 double plays and a play at the plate have kept them from their 3rd run.
Nine hits in the ball game for the Marlins, only 2 for the Reds.
Ball and a strike to D. Reds bullpen is much like Miami's pen, really been leaned on this year. Gordon, a hard smash. Jeanette throws it away, throws it into left. Rojas shifts gears and ends up at 3rd base. Rojas had to stop and then start, and he arrives at 3rd with a grimace on his face. Oh, goodness. He says, yeah, he's still in some pain.
Sometimes as a player you get caught in between. He wants to slide and realizes the throw's going into left field. Yeah, see, it's the readjusting. He just turned his ankle, readjusting. He was getting ready to get down to try to break up the double play attempt, but once the ball ends up in left field, he realizes he wants to stay on his feet and rolled over. I couldn't tell which ankle it was, but you can see as he's about 10 feet short of second base, he changes gears right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and guess it's probably his left ankle. Yeah, right there. Could go either way though. Tough to read, but definitely some discomfort as he gets into 3rd base.
That's a big error. Jeanette at 2nd. That ball was hit hard enough to double even a speedy runner like Gordon up. And as we talked to you earlier about it, Homer Bailey had 3 double plays. Peralta looked like he was going to roll one to get out of the 7th. Instead, Stanton gets an at bat against a lefty arm out of the pen, which is not a common occurrence.
Well, in a 2-1 ball game, the Marlins have had runners on in every inning. Unable to add to their lead.
Stanton walked his last time up, doubled back in the 1st. Remember, he has homered in 3 consecutive games. The other rare thing here is that Stanton against this lefty is hitting with the face guard on. Since the beaning 3 years ago against lefties, he's not worn it. Now sometimes it happens that the helmet that has the guard on it is either not available, or sometimes you just throw on a helmet and hop out there and you're in the box and you realize you got the one that you usually use against righties on. See what he gets here. 2-1. Got speed at 1st with Gordon. Rojas is at 3rd.
Peralta in the hitters count, goes with the slider, breaks out of the zone. Stanton chases. Now 2-2.
Stanton has a high fly ball, shallow left. This is not deep enough to score Rojas. Duvall's under it, makes the catch. And a throw to 1st. Gordon's back in. The Reds keep everybody in place. There's 2 outs. Here comes Yelich.
D. Gordon tried to test this just a little bit. Draws the throw, the attention of Suarez, and Votto over at first base.
So Yelich comes up with 2 outs, 2 on. He bounced out to end the 5th with a couple of runners on. Knocked in a run back in the 1st. Yelich lines at left field. That's fallen for a hit, and Miami has that 3rd run. Rojas scores. Gordon to second, and Christian Yelich comes through. 3-1 Miami.
Now picks up his 2nd RBI of the night. So good this season at coming through at the clutch. Alta throwing very, very hard tonight. 98, 99 miles an hour. Yelich looks to be aggressive early. Gets a fastball. Center cut. Stays inside of it. Short, compact swing. Just able to dump it in left field and pick up that elusive 2nd run. A 2-run lead for the Marlins, 3-1.
Here's Ozuna. And Marcel
Urania really needs to get underneath the hands of Schebler right there. Doesn't want to give him an easy pitch to get the runner over from second base. So he would love to pick up a strikeout here against the guy who's struggling.
3-1 Miami, bottom 7, nobody out. Urania checks second. Suarez. This was a game that started an hour and 47 minutes late with a rain delay. 2-2 now. The rain to the plate. And Schebler takes in 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Full count. 3-2. Jose Urania from the belt. Now the 3-2. Almost hit him. Schebler backs away from it, and it's low and inside. And now the Reds have got runners first and second. Barnhart is the hitter. In the absence of David Phelps, Don Mattingly today talked about Junichi Tazawa and the great July that he's had, and the fact that with Phelps now a Seattle Mariner, Tazawa was going to get high leverage spots. And this is evolving into one of those right now with runners at first and second and nobody out. And Tucker Barnhart is the hitter.
Well, Don Mattingly's going to make his way out to the mound, probably to get Urania right here. 90 pitches. He just walked Schebler for the second time tonight, also hit him. So a tough spot right here. Would love to have seen him get through that seventh inning, but unfortunately puts the first two guys on. Don Mattingly's going to go to the bullpen.
So Urania's coming out. Tazawa's coming in a 3-1 ball game in the bottom of the 7th. Now, this is just opening the series, and both of us felt this was going to be a homer fest, the way that the Reds were giving up runs, the way that both teams swing the bat, the way that this ballpark has yielded home runs more than any in baseball this year. It's been a well-pitched game. And as the Marlins make this pitching change, a Florida lottery called to the bullpen. 3-1 Marlins on top of the Reds. After a Florida lottery called to the bullpen. And this is a high leverage spot for Junichi Tazawa in the absence of David Phelps. Don Mattingly said, he deserves a shot after the July that he's had.
He's done a fantastic job. Left-handed hitters hitting only 174 against him on the season. This is a double play situation as well. 8 consecutive scoreless appearances. That split-finger fastball.
Ball 1.
Appearances. So a real good opportunity for Tazawa here to get things done in this inning.
Tucker Barnhart just squared. Is that more show or is it go?
I think it's a little bit more show. Probably wanted to see what Tazawa was going to feature, if he'd show him that split finger or not.
Runners first and second. He squares and bunts it hard, third base side. Dietrich on to first in time, but the Reds are set up at second and third with 1 out. And in the 9 spot, certainly Brian Price will pull the trigger on a pinch hitter. And it's Devin Mesoraco, the oft-injured catcher of the Reds. Tucker Barnhart has been able to get a lot of playing time because of the myriad of injuries for Mesoraco. But he can do some damage with the bat, and he comes up in a big spot here.
Mesoraco has been one of the Reds' best pinch hitters this year. 4 for 8 on the season. So big spot here. Runners on second and third and 1 out.
We have restored our picture. We're happy about that. We're working on our audio. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Tazawa from the belt. And a good splitty for a strike. And it's 0-1. It wasn't just power to the television trucks. Both dugouts apparently have lost power, which means they can't communicate with their video rooms. Umpires talked to both managers about that. 0-1 pitch. Fastball misses down low. What's been different about Tazawa in July from all the other months?
Well, that split-finger fastball has been such an effective pitch. We talk about the lane it really needs to be in. He needs to get it to JT Realmuto's glove on the dirt behind home plate. That's the perfect lane. It goes through the hitting zone. Hitters want to chase. They want to go after it. But as it bottoms out, they realize they can't do much with it.
And the fastball just misses. And it's 2-1. One pitch. Yeah, the splitty, and he got him to swing, and the count's 2-2.
Oh, especially in the hitter's count. You love to see that right there. That tells you the confidence is high for Tazawa. Willing to go to the 2-1 splitty, even though he's behind in the count. Big pitch right there.
Two and 2. And the 2-2 pitch. That one missed. And Mesoraco did not offer. Suarez at third. Shebler at second. Junichi Tazawa with a 3-2 to Devin Mesoraco. Two splits, 2 balls in the dirt. Neither did Mesoraco chase. And so now they're loaded, and you've got speedy Billy Hamilton coming up. And so the bags are loaded. We'll see what Miami's infield does here. You can see Rojas and Gordon are halfway. Corners are in. Hamilton, a good bunter and one of the fastest men in baseball. From the stretch.
And that one got away from him. Well, Don Mattingly wasn't kidding about a high leverage spot for Tazawa. This is not a soft landing for him.
Certainly is not, but it is an opportunity. Well, if he can get that split finger in action and get that key ground ball, that's what he's looking for here, and that's what's been so good over the last 8 appearances for Tazawa. Not just the strikeouts, but the ability to get that bad contact.
1-0 to Hamilton. He fouls it off. Billy Hamilton tonight, 0 for 2, a sacrifice fly. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We know our picture is back. It sounds like our audio is back. We still have a few gadgets and toys that are coming back online. Junichi Tazawa, bags loaded, 1 out, a 2-run lead to protect in the 7th, and the 1-1. Hamilton, a ground ball. Gordon comes home, and he gets the out. D. Gordon throws home and gets Suarez. Real Muto making like a first baseman. That's a big out.
Well, it's a split-second read by D. Gordon. Listen, soft contact off the bat of Billy Hamilton. Hits a split-finger fastball. You see the replay? And easy. Thinking, why not double play right there? You got to consider Billy Hamilton, and the sure out is actually to home plate right there. Because here's the thing. You're either turning 2 or you're coming home. And because you know Billy Hamilton's got all that speed, D. Gordon makes a great decision and decides to come home and cut down the runner. Real Muto making a nice play as well.
Zach Cozart now. National League starter at the All-Star game at short. Cozart 0 for 3 tonight. Tazawa's first pitch misses up. Bases filled with Reds. Schebler's at third. Mesoraco at second. Hamilton at first. And that one almost hit Cozart. And it's 2-0. You can hear the grunting of Tazawa. He's one of those guys that, as he's coming to the plate, will let out a good grunt. Driven left center. Yelich after it. Yelich is there, and he makes the catch. And Tazawa bails out Urania. The Reds leave him loaded. 7 innings in Cincinnati. High leverage, no problem. And it's 3-1 still.
coming through here for the Fish.
Wow, 10 straight scoreless innings. What a great job he did there in the 7th inning. How about Urania getting into the 7th inning, allowed the first 2 runners to reach base, and then Tazawa comes in, little bunt, loads the bases, gets out of it. D. Gordon, great play, because you had the speedy Hamilton running the first. No way you're getting a double play there. Got the force out at home. Outstanding 7th inning.
Highlights analysis. We'll have reaction as well from Cincinnati as the Marlins try to get the road trip off to a winning note. Guys?
All right, thank you, Craig. Thank you, Nelly. 3-1, Marlins on top. That ball, when it left the bat, with all the heroics of Cozart this year, Yelich ran it down. Our Bonefish Grill catch of the game, our Bang Bang catch of the game. For great fish, great cocktails, and great times, head to Bonefish Grill.
See the enthusiasm from Tazawa. Nice read off the bat by Yelich, able to make that look quite routine.
Drew Storen is a Cincinnati Red.
It's been a good Cincinnati Red as well, throwing the ball pretty well for them out of the bullpen. Owner of an immaculate inning this season.
It's not often that high school teammates get to be on the same team in the major leagues. Marlins have a couple college teammates in Bohr and O'Grady. Little chopper to Jeanette. But Storen was a high school teammate with his catcher Tucker Barnhart. And so here they are making up a late inning battery in the major leagues.
You can see already from Storen some different mechanics. His struggles going back to his national days, Washington national days, had some struggles there, and it's bounced around a little bit. Finally landing here in Cincinnati. He's become a fixture in the bullpen. Been struggling a little bit of late, but you see this little delay in his delivery. It's new.
Real Muto gets around on that. It's like a hitter that's added a leg kick.
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it when Justin Bohr came to the plate. That was different visually, like you've got to get your time on it. And as JT Realmuto was getting into the box, I would have been thinking, enough of that. I'm going to come out of my shoes as soon as I know that that front leg crosses behind, because he's on his way home. Yeah, right there. One hopper.
Cozart crossed the diamond in time to get Realmuto. Derek Dietrich coming up. And Kyle Bearclaw is up. So it looks like it'll be Bearclaw for the 8th, and you got A.J. Ramos, if everything works out, for the 9th. Storen takes over for Willie Peralta. 2 pretty good starts. I think the way both the managers have seen starters go short this year, both Brian Price and Don Mattingly have to be pretty happy. 6 innings of Homer Bailey, 2 runs on 8 hits. 6 innings of Jose Urena. Ends up giving up 1 run on 3 hits. Counts 0-2. Drew Storen makes quick work of Miami in the 8th. 6 outs to get for the Fish to capture game 1. It's 3-1 Miami. Friday for Cincinnati, and that's tomorrow. Marlins and Reds. Kyle Barraclough out of the pen. So this is game one without David Phelps, and the Marlins were able to get Junichi Tazawa to get 3 outs in the 7th. Now they need Barraclough to get 3 outs here in the 8th.
Kyle Barraclough outstanding on the road this season. 193 ERA in 23 innings of work. Not giving up a run to the Cincinnati Reds in his career. Got to go through the heart of this Reds lineup.
Votto, Duvall, and Jeanette in the 8th. And Tazawa getting 3 outs in the 7th. That's a huge bridge. Barraclough .95-mile-an-hour fastball in on the hands. We have great audio, and although we're happy that it's restored, that was a true test of all the microphones around home plate. We do apologize that it picked up everything.
You're telling me they're working?
Normally you do a check, 1, 2, check, right. Or even sibilance, the old Tom Hanks skit on Saturday Night Live when he was with, I think, Aerosmith in his.
Well, you can't do that when you have to do it on the fly.
Right. You're hoping that whatever comes through is
there. Or for those choice words.
Yes. 1-2 pitch. Strike 3 called, and Votto caught looking for the 2nd time. That's a big strikeout for Barraclough. Votto an 0 for 4 and a frustrated 0 for 4, obviously.
Well, he's struggling here to start the 2nd half. It's a good fastball, top of the zone at the belt. A couple pitches up there earlier to Votto tonight as well, called strikes. Joey Votto just more frustrated with the misses earlier.
So an out, but still some powerful bats to get. Duvall is one of those. 20 homers and an 0 for 3 night tonight. And a pitch that misses in. Urania struck out 4, walked a couple. There are a few electric gremlins still here at Great American Ballpark.
Well, a lot of stuff went out when the. I would have guessed a transformer, lightning strike, or something, because the dugouts went down. Everybody up here went down.
We were told a transformer, and it, as you pointed out, it affected more than just the television trucks. It affected things up here in the press box. It affected apparently the video room communication, and possibly the video room cameras and such down below. There's a swing and a miss, and Barraclough gets the 2nd out here in the 8th inning. It's a great look of Cincinnati in this Coors timeless moment. Tris Speaker, 700 doubles. He would finish with 793, which is a major league record. Some great bridges here in Cincinnati.
Well, speaking of bridges, Barraclough wanting to be that bridge to the 9th inning. Off to a fantastic start. His last 5 outings, more walks than strikeouts, but not tonight. Sometimes you just can't explain it. Struggles at home. Inconsistency with his fastball and in his command, as well as that slider. But tonight, man, oh man, he has been good. 2 tough hitters for the Reds. Start this inning down on strikes.
Jeanette, who has won the everyday second base job from Jose Peraza, and he's done it with his bat. He's been over 300, 16 homers. Swing there, and he fouls it back. Not bad for a guy that was released, waived by the Milwaukee Brewers.
He's really looked like the player many thought he would have been in Milwaukee. He's added a more pronounced leg kick to his swing. He's hitting for power. Obviously a 4-homer game this season. He looks on time. One thing I noticed seeing an awful lot of the National League Central over the last couple seasons, his swing and his consistency really not there. So far this season, he's been outstanding. Had some of the best swings tonight for the Reds. Only got 3 hits in the ball game tonight. There's a walk and a deep fly ball off Urania.
Full count, 3-2. Blake Wood has been up in the Reds bullpen. He's a right-hander. Our camera down there is one that has not come back to life yet.
I'll take your word for it then.
Jeanette lines it into that right field corner. Stanton going to pick it off the wall. And Scooter Jeanette's 2-out double. And that gets Eugenio Suarez to the plate.
Jeanette proving to everybody in the National League that he is a very good fastball hitter. Another one here. Rotates through. Nice extension through the zone, and lines it, one hops it off the right field wall. It's a runner in scoring position for the Reds here in the 8th inning. Bring the tying run to the plate for the Cincinnati Reds. In the form of Suarez. Mentioned he had a 2-homer game yesterday. So Bearclaw certainly wants to be careful pitching to Suarez.
Bearclaw gets a strike. Let's see if he throws that sharp slider again. He does, and he gets a pop-up out of it. Gordon out, Stanton in. D. Gordon has it in shallow right field. Terrific bullpen. First Tazawa, now Bearclaw. On to the 9th, 3-1. Ballpark And a tight one here. 3-1 Miami into the 9th. Blake Wood, the right-hander, arrives for Cincinnati. And he's the 3rd reliever out of Brian Price's pen.
Last pitched on Tuesday, scoreless 8th and 9th inning. See the numbers, 4.26 ERA. Good strikeout numbers, a little high on the walks.
Been a nice night for Miguel Rojas. 2 for 3. Scored a run. It's nice to see that he's moving around without a whole lot of difficulty. He had that awkward play at second when he was running full speed to second, and the throw in what looked like it would be a double play, and he was getting set to slide. It was thrown into left field. He had to adjust. It looked like he tweaked an ankle a bit. Wood bounces one up. And it's 1-1. AJ Ramos in Miami's bullpen. You got the number 9 spot up next, and so Ichiro getting ready. That was a defensive swing. Votto's going to flip it to Wood. And there's an out, and here comes Ichiro. MLB.com app, bat your #1 mobile app for live Miami Marlins baseball. Stay connected. Get Marlin home screen icons, app features, game day video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, weather reports, Doppler radar. Download MLB.com at bat today. Ichiro, those neon green line shoes. It's one thing you find when you go to Japan, and we were there for 3 weeks in March. There are pictures of Ichiro everywhere.
You know those shoes make you faster.
They do, because
Yes.
Ichiro wears them.
Right.
Shoes.
Blinding.
You go into a convenience store, there's Ichiro on the shelf. Energy drinks. He is such a legend there, and so beloved there. Would love to see here at 3-0 Ichiro just come out of those neon shoes and swing off his back foot.
Think so?
Just
Doubt
for-
it.
Yeah, you're right. 3-1.
A 3-1 ball game. It's in him. Going to be a patient and selective hitter. He's trying to get on base. Turn the lineup over. Add to this 3-1 lead.
Ichiro fights it off into center. Billy Hamilton's out there, and he makes the catch, and that'll bring D. Gordon up. This game started almost 2 hours after the scheduled start time, an hour and 47-minute rain delay. And so at 11:42 here in Cincinnati, it's top 9. Gordon on a 1-for-4 night. Miami's banged out 10 hits. So double figures in hits for the Marlins. Cincinnati a run on just 4 hits. Wood misses low and in. That Pirate game that we were both talking about. The Pirates are in Colorado. Suddenly hot. Pittsburgh just swept Milwaukee, and they're blasting Colorado 12-5 in the 8th in Denver. Pitch is in. Washington has made a game of it in the desert. They were down 5-0. It's now 5-4. Arizona ball game in the bottom of the 6th. And Atlanta's crushing the Dodgers. How about that? 9-0. Top 5. Gordon up the middle. Cozart on to first in time. 1, 2, 3. Go the fish. A.J. Ramos into the bottom of the 9th. 3-1 Miami. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Jeep and by your South Florida Honda dealers. Great look into downtown Cincinnati and a nice look into the Great American Ballpark. 3-1 Miami in the bottom of the 9th. And a call to the bullpen brought to you by the family of Week for Life scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery with a top prize of $5,000 a week every week for the rest of your life. The longer you live, the more you keep winning. That's Winfinity. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly.
A.J. Ramos on the save opportunity, looking for his 18th save of the season. Interesting start here in the second half. He's given that Dodgers save opportunity. First game back. Did not go his way. He's only pitched in one other ball game. Ran out of save opportunities.
Schebler fouls it back to the screen. And so a day after trading David Phelps to Seattle, the Marlins bullpen is asked to get 9 outs. Tazawa steps in, gets the first 3. Bearclaw steps in, gets the next 3. Here's Ramos.
Good spot for AJ.
That changeup was like the Bugs Bunny rain delay video they had here after the salsa dancing by Suarez. They showed the old Bugs Bunny video, that changeup that just floats up there. Well, that one off that fastball really hung in, caught the corner. It's 0-2. Elevates the fastball, and it's popped foul and out of play.
Schebler on base all 3 times tonight. A couple of walks, was hit by a pitch. Mentioned at the beginning of the ball game, has been struggling here in the second half, not able to get going yet. AJ, let's see if he can widen the strike zone with either that changeup or maybe even the curveball. See if you can't get him to chase off the outside corner.
You know, there are some cities in Major League Baseball that have a curfew for fireworks. And if it's past a certain time, you can't shoot fireworks off. And here in Cincinnati, it's midnight. It's 11:48 right now. That one fouled back. Now, you can't shoot the fireworks right after the game is over. You've got to do a few things to set them up. So I think the fireworks show is in jeopardy right now. You know, I suspect most of the people that are still here are hanging in here for fireworks, may not be aware of the curfew, so to speak. 1-2, Schebler.
I'm not telling anybody how to do their business, Rich, but I did hear a couple stories a couple weeks ago of the same situation presenting itself around baseball. And I think in those particular cities, I can't remember which ones they were, they went ahead and put the fireworks off anyway with the idea that they knew they were going to have to pay a fine. But because so many people had stayed, they did not want to disappoint the fan base.
Bohr started to his right, gets back in time to get the out. A circuitous route for Justin Bohr and nifty footwork to get back in the nick of time.
Nicely done, had it all the way, right? Isn't that how it looked? And D. Gordon all over it. Said, certainly, what are you doing there, big guy? I got that side of the diamond, nothing to worry about. Just get over there at first base and do what you do. Schebler hustling all the way. Justin Bohr easily securing the baseball before he crosses the bag. So 2 down here in the 9th. Check that, 1 down. I'm a little ahead of myself here.
Here is Barnhart now. Tucker Barnhart is singled, lined out, and has a sacrifice bunt. So you're saying that you'd rather pay the fine?
It's just the way that I heard it. I don't know if tonight's the case. I'm certainly not putting it out there for anybody. I know that I've heard that. It's happened a couple different times in Major League Baseball this year where stadiums were kind of thrust into this position. As you mentioned, there being a curfew, but their fans, they all stayed. And you're like 20,000 fans, and they were like, all right, well, you know what? We're going to put them off anyway.
Ricky ball is a strike. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Barnhart's been working in front of home plate umpire Chris Siegel all night. He swings and misses. And it counts 1-2. You probably got a few boats out there on the river too that have shown up to watch the fireworks.
I have a funny feeling they're going to find a way.
Ramos trying to find a way. 1-2. He misses out with an 85-mile-an-hour changeup. You've got that 9 spot due up next, and the Reds have Arismendi Alcantara on deck. Former Cub, former Athletic. 2-2. Breaking ball pulled foul.
These two teams going to get very familiar with each other over the next few days. 7 times in the next 10 games for the Marlins, for the Reds as well. Now if this trip turn right back around back in Miami, they're going to play each other.
Good pitch, ground ball. Gordon gobbles it up, and Ramos needs 1 more out to get the save here. Here comes Alcantara, a guy that you saw a little bit as a Cub. He's been to the big leagues for 81 games with the Cubs and then 16 games with Oakland last year.
Alcantara is a good ball player. He's not found the consistency yet at the major league level to stick, and that's really what it comes down to. He's got some power in his bat. Pretty good eye as well. Good defender, can play multiple positions, just has not been able to be consistent enough.
Two outs here the 9th. 3-1 Miami. AJ Ramos, a 1-0 breaking ball for a strike. It would be nice for the Marlins to open this road trip a win here, especially coming off the homestand. Dodgers a sweep, the Phillies taking 2 of 3. Two and 1.
offense got rolling first inning tonight. I figured a few more runs would have scored.
Well, the Marlins had the most of the opportunities to add on. 3 double plays. That certainly curtailed things. Remember, Ozuna was thrown out at the plate by Billy Hamilton. 2-2. Changeup misses.
Give credit to Homer Bailey. He definitely settled in and started working the bottom half of the zone very well tonight.
The tapper up the line. Full count, 3-2. We're approaching the witching hour. It's 11:54. The fireworks apparently, if you start the show, it has to end by midnight. That's what we're being told. So,
new set of rules.
If Ramos gets this out, you could see a 5-minute fireworks show. (3-2). Another ground ball. D. Gordon. Ball game. Miami wins it. Nicely done by the bullpen and Jose Urena. 3-1. Marlins beat the Reds. 6 innings from Urena. Tazawa an inning. Barraclough an inning. And Ramos an inning. All scoreless in relief. And a 3-1 win. A nice way to start the road trip.
Yeah, fantastic job by the bullpen. So nice to see them come out and throw strikes. Couple of big jams they got themselves out of. So nice start to this road trip.
Marlins Live is coming up. Jessica's here. Craig and Nellie in the studio.